For the last 10 years, I've been obsessed with collecting little true stories. One of them you already heard about, Zapata, but here's another one that is about a human being fully engaged no matter the circumstances. And it's a very short little story. And it's a true story. It's written by Dr. Charles Garfield. If you've ever gone through a toll booth, you know that your relationship to the person in the booth is not the most intimate you'll ever have. It's one of life's frequent non-encounters. You hand over some money, you might get change, you drive off. I've been through every one of the 17 toll booths on the Oakland-San Francisco Bay Bridge on thousands of occasions and never had an exchange worth remembering with anyone. How about you? Late one morning, though, in the late 90s, headed for lunch in San Francisco, I drove toward one of the booths, and I heard loud music. Sounded like a party or a Michael Jackson concert. I looked around. No other cars with their windows open, no sound trucks. I looked finally into the toll booth, and inside, the man was dancing. And I asked, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm having a party." And I said, "But what about the rest of your colleagues?" And I pointed to the other toll booths, no one dancing there. And he said, "They're not invited." I had a dozen other questions for him, but somebody in a big hurry to get somewhere started punching his horn behind me, and I drove off. But I made a note to myself, find this guy again. There's something in his eye that says there's magic in his toll booth, and there's magic in his life. Months later, I did find him again, still with the loud music, still having a party. Again, I asked, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, I remember you from the last time. Well, you see, I'm still dancing. I'm still having the same party." And I said, "But look, what about the rest of the people?" And I started to point at the other toll booths. And he said, "What do they look like to you, those toll booths?" And I said, "Well, they just look like toll booths." And he said, "No imagination. No imagination." I said, "Okay, I give up. What do they look like to you?" And he said, "Vertical coffins." Vertical coffins. And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, I can prove it. 8:30 every morning, the people get in and then they die for 8 hours. And at 4:30, like Lazarus from the dead, they reemerge and go home. And for hours, for 8 hours, brain is on hold, dead on the job, going through the motions." I was amazed. This guy had developed a philosophy, a mythology about his job. I couldn't help asking the next question. "Well, why is it different for you? You're having a great time." And he looked at me and he said, "I knew you were going to ask me that." He said, "You see, I'm going to be a dancer someday," and he pointed to the administration building. "My bosses are in there and they're paying for my training, you see." 16 people dead on the job, and the 17th, in precisely the same situation, figures out a way to live and truly be engaged. That man was having a party where you and I would probably not have lasted 3 days. The boredom. He and I did have lunch later, and he said, "I don't understand why anyone would think my job is boring. I have a corner office, glass on all sides. I see the Golden Gate, San Francisco, the Berkeley Hills, half the Western world vacations here, and I just stroll in every day and practice dancing because, you see, I'm going to be a dancer someday." The fire that takes no wood, regardless of my circumstances. What has heart and meaning for me? And And where am I being inspired? Where am I being challenged? Where am I being surprised? And the last river, where am I being touched and moved by life?